Why can you feel completely fine drinking while your body is slowly getting worse? Alcohol is one of the most widely used substances in the world, and most people who drink regularly feel completely normal. They function, they sleep, life seems fine. But inside the body, key systems are quietly adapting. Understanding these changes reveals how alcohol can slowly reshape the brain, disrupt sleep, and alter stress, long before anything feels wrong. Why doesn't it feel obvious? Because the change starts in the brain. Alcohol increases calming signals, especially one called GABA. GABA acts like the brain's brake. It slows things down, creates relaxation, reduces anxiety. That's why the first drink feels good. But the brain doesn't stay passive, it adapts. It reduces its own calming signals and increases excitatory ones, the ones that drive tension, alertness, reactivity. So over time, the brain becomes less able to stay calm on its own, even without alcohol. If the brain is changing, why doesn't it feel like something is wrong? Because there's no single moment where it breaks. The shift is gradual, week by week, month by month. What once felt naturally calm now feels slightly restless. What once felt focused now feels faintly scattered. And each change is easy to explain away. Work, stress, bad sleep, a long week. But here's what's actually happening. The brain is recalibrating its baseline, not against the original, against the most recent version of normal. So the new state starts to feel like the real state, and the original baseline quietly disappears. Sleep still happens after drinking. So what's the problem? Alcohol makes falling asleep easier. It slows brain activity, creates sedation. That part is real. But falling asleep is not the same as recovering. The body cycles through stages every night. Deep sleep, REM sleep, each one critical. Deep sleep is when the body repairs itself, clears waste from the brain, regulates hormones. REM sleep is when memory consolidates, when the brain actually processes the day. Alcohol compresses deep sleep, fragments REM, especially in the second half of the night. The clock might say 8 hours, but the biology says something different. The body wakes up less restored every single time, and that deficit quietly compounds. Why do things start to feel less exciting over time? But here's where it gets interesting. This is where dopamine comes in. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It drives motivation, the feeling that something is worth pursuing. Alcohol produces a fast, powerful dopamine spike, stronger than most natural rewards. The brain notices, and it adapts again. It reduces its own dopamine output, lowers receptor sensitivity. Now, everyday rewards feel smaller. A meal, a conversation, a hobby, slightly less satisfying, slightly less worth the effort. Nothing feels broken. Things just feel less. And this is the part most people miss. If alcohol relaxes the body, why does stress feel worse later? Here's what's actually happening. When alcohol leaves the system, those excitatory signals don't just switch off. They stay elevated. Cortisol rises. The nervous system becomes more reactive. Some people feel it as restlessness, others as low-level anxiety the next morning. And this is where the loop forms. Alcohol reduces stress short-term, but this is where the shift happens. Hours later, the body is in a slightly more stressed state than before. That tension makes another drink feel more appealing. Because it works, temporarily. The brain starts to associate alcohol with relief, without realizing that alcohol is also generating the stress it's relieving. Why does energy feel lower, with no obvious cause? Energy isn't one thing. It's the combined output of sleep quality, hormone balance, and motivation. Alcohol affects all three. Sleep becomes less restorative. Cortisol runs slightly higher, pulling energy away from daily function. Dopamine drops, making tasks feel like more effort than they used to. Each effect is small, but they don't stay separate. They stack. The result is a slow erosion of baseline energy. No single cause, no clear moment, just a ceiling that keeps getting slightly lower. So why do most people never realize this is happening? Because the brain doesn't compare today to 5 years ago. It compares today to yesterday. Each small shift becomes the new reference point. There's no alarm, no sharp contrast, no clear warning. The body just adjusts again and again until the distance from the original baseline is enormous and completely invisible. Most people only realize how far things shifted after they stop and discover a version of themselves they'd forgotten existed. These shifts aren't just about how someone feels day to day. They affect systems tied directly to long-term health. Sleep architecture controls hormonal regulation, metabolism, immune function, cellular repair. When sleep quality drops consistently, those processes run below their potential for years. Chronically elevated cortisol affects the cardiovascular system, inflammatory pathways, and brain structure, especially regions tied to memory and emotional regulation. From an evolutionary perspective, the body is designed to respond to repeated signals. When alcohol becomes a regular signal, the body reorganizes around it. It stops treating it as a disruption. It starts treating it as the environment. These are measurable biological changes happening in ordinary people, living ordinary lives, often without a single obvious warning sign. But here's what's important. The body can reverse many of these changes, given time, and the removal of the signal that caused them. Alcohol doesn't always create obvious damage. It doesn't break systems suddenly. It shifts them, slowly, consistently, almost invisibly. Brain chemistry recalibrates, sleep degrades, stress tightens, motivation flattens, energy contracts, and the brain, doing exactly what it's designed to do, adjusts its baseline with every change, never registering how far it's traveled. A person can feel completely fine, and by the standard of what normal feels like to them now, they might be right. But the baseline has moved, and the version of themselves that existed before it moved is further away than they realize, until it's suddenly back.